we're going to do, we've done graphing, we've done substitution, and we're now going to move on to elimination. Now, most students really like elimination. It's like their all-time favorite. What we're doing is we're giving you several tools, okay? Graphing is like your needle nose pliers, okay? Your substitution's like a regular pliers, and your elimination might be like your monkey wrench. And different type of problems, you use different type of tools, okay? If I ask you to use substitution, I want you to do it using substitution. I'm teaching you a method, okay? If I don't put a method on there, like I don't say solve this using substitution, you get to choose what tool you want. I don't care, okay? Now, sometimes I can teach you or ask you to use substitution and you're having trouble with it. You could use elimination to help you get the answer, to check substitution. Okay, so you could do that. But if I ask you to use graphing or substitution elimination, make sure that you use that method. Now, let's take a look at this. This is kind of part one of elimination. It says solve linear systems by adding or subtracting. There's a part two, but that's going to come next week. All right. When we use elimination, we're going to make sure our form is in AX plus BY equals C form. And this is called what? Standard form. And we've seen this before, haven't we? Yeah, so you're going to notice a lot of times in algebra, I give you little things. And I like teach it, and then we don't use it. And then I teach something else, and then we don't use it. And then we teach something else, and then we don't use it. But eventually I take all those skills, bring them together, and then we use them all together. Okay, and you're going to notice that today with elimination. So we need to make sure that the equations that we're using are in AX plus BY equals C form. So let's take a look at number one. Okay, is the first equation in standard form? Yes, it has to be an X, it has to be a Y, it has to be an equals, and it has to be a 9. Okay. Next equation, is it in standard form? Yes. It's 4x, and then it's a y, and then it's an equals, and then it's a 14. Now, I'm going to stop right there for just a minute. Do you remember in elementary school when you added and subtracted decimals? Okay. What had to occur when you added or subtracted decimals? You had to line up what? The decimals. And if you didn't line up the decimals, what happened? It was wrong. So if you remember in elementary school, you'd have something like, 37.02, and then you'd add, 2.6. Do you remember doing that in elementary school? You're going to do the same type of thing with elimination. You have to line up your X's, you have to line up your Y's, you have to line up your equals, and you have to line up your C's or your numbers. If you don't, it won't work. Okay, so let's go ahead then and let's take a look at the first equation. You said it was in standard form, so I'm going to write down X plus 5Y equals 9. And then the second equation I'm going to write underneath that, and I'm going to line up my X's. So 4x minus 5y equals negative 14. And then you're going to notice that I draw a line. I want you to draw that line because to me that means an equal sign. It also helps separate the problem a little bit so it doesn't look like a bunch of gush on a sheet of paper. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, to solve this problem, we are going to add. So I'm going to put an addition sign out here, and I'm going to put a little cup around it. And you go, Mrs. Medvick, why are you adding, and why are you putting a cup around it? You're going to find out in just a few minutes, okay? So you're going to put an addition sign out front, and you're going to put a cup around it, and now we're going to do the problem, okay? You're going to notice that there's a 1 in front of this x. So 1x plus 4x gives me 5x. 5y plus a negative 5y is, it eliminated the variable. That's where the name comes from. You are eliminating it or getting rid of it, okay? And then I'm going to put an equal sign. And 9 plus a negative 14 is? It is negative 5. And then I solve. Notice how I only have one variable. So I'm going to divide by 5. X gives me negative 1. Now, is the problem done? No, why not? I need to find y. Remember, these are two lines that are going to intersect to form an ordered pair, and I only found the first part of that ordered pair. So I'm going to take that number, and it doesn't matter which equation I put it in. I'm going to put it in the first one just because. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go x plus 5y equals 9. So I'm going to write down the equation. I'm going to take out the x, and I'm going to put in a negative 1. Okay, I'm going to add my 1. 5y equals, very good. And I'm going to divide by 5. So y equals 2. Am I done? Not yet. What do I need to do? I need an ordered pair. So negative 1 comma 2. Don't forget to finish all that work with your ordered pair. And that's it. That's elimination. Okay. Questions? Okay, let's take a look at the second one, right? Is the first equation in standard form? It is. Is the second equation in standard form? It is. Now, watch what happens. I'm going to line them up. 3x minus 4y equals 2. And 3x plus 2y equals 26. I'm going to draw my line, and then I want you to stop for just a minute. I'm actually going to do it wrong because I want to show you something, right? Now, remember how I said the last problem I chose to add? Okay, and I told you that I would eventually show you how and why. Okay, so I'm going to do it wrong, so don't do this. I'm going to do an addition sign out front, and I'm going to cup it just like the last problem. Watch how I do this now. 3x plus 3x gives me 6x. Negative 4y plus 2y gives me negative 2y, and 2 plus 26 gives me 28. Did I eliminate a variable? I did not. So addition is not the correct operation that I want to choose. So I'm going to erase this now, and I know I'm going to use subtraction. Now, some kids can just see it. Good for you. Some kids can't. It's okay. Try one. If it doesn't work, try the other. Now, you'll notice that I put the subtraction sign out front, and kids ask me, Mrs. Medvick, why do you cup it? Look what happens when I don't. It looks like a negative, not a subtraction. And it's a positive 3, that's right. So that's why I'm asking you when you do this to make sure you put it out front and to cup it. So then we know it's subtraction, not a negative symbol. Okay? Okay, so 3x minus 3x gives me what? I eliminated it, didn't I? Boop, eliminate it. Please stay with me. I got a couple of you going ahead, and I don't want you to learn it wrong. All right? Negative 4y minus 2y gives me negative 6y. Now, a couple of students had trouble with that last hour, and I gave them this hint. What you can do if you want to, off to the side of your paper, you can write negative 4 minus a positive 2. And if you write it off to the side of the paper, that actually helped them a little bit. So do that if you need to. You don't have to, but it might help. And then equals 2 minus 26 gives me negative 24, right? So again, 2 minus 26. Again, you don't have to. It was just helping students last hour. And then I'm going to divide by negative 6. So y gives me 4. Am I done? No, what do I need to do? Yep, I need to grab another equation and I need to plug it in. So 3x minus 4y equals 2. 3x minus 4 times 4 equals 2. 3x minus 16 equals 2. Add my 16. 3x gives me 18. Divide by 3. X equals 6. And again, do not forget to bring it together as your ordered pair. Now, if I was taking a high stakes test like an MCA or an ACT, how would I make sure that that's correct? Check it. Where? In both equations. Now, if it doesn't check in both equations, is it a no solution? No. And there's a couple of you, you're still doing that. If this does not check in your equations, you write no solution. That's incorrect. If you get an ordered pair, it should check. And if it doesn't, you did something wrong. So go back and look at it. Okay? Okay. Let's take a look at this one. Are they in standard form? Yes, they are. So x plus 6y equals 13 and minus 2x plus 6y equals negative 8. Should I add or subtract? How many people say add? How many people say subtract? Okay, good. You're going to subtract. Now, this is y if you haven't seen it yet. Do you notice how they both are 6y? Do you notice they both have a positive? When you have numbers that are the same and they're the same sign, you're going to subtract them. If you have numbers that are the same but different signs, you're going to add them. And if you don't get it yet, that's okay. You'll eventually get it. It's okay. All right, so I've got 1y minus a negative 2x gives me. So 1 minus a negative 2 gives me 3. So it's 3x. And kids are struggling with that last hour, so go off to the side and rewrite it. It's okay. 6y minus 6y gives me, it eliminated it, didn't it? Equals 13 minus a negative 8. So 13 minus a negative 8, you get a plus plus. So you end up with a positive 24. Right? I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. X gives me 8. Am I done? No. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got x plus 6y equals 13. And I just chose the first equation. It doesn't matter which. Oh, 21? Oh, thank you. I'm glad you said something. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, that's good. I'm glad you said something. I did it on purpose, you know. Yeah, 21. Thank you. Divide by 3. So x is 7. Yeah? Is that what you got? Good. I'm glad you said something. All right. So x plus 6y equals 13. 7 plus 6y equals 13. And then I subtract 7. 6y equals 6. Divide by 6. Y equals 1. And again, do not forget to do your ordered pair. We okay? Questions? Okay. Now, this next problem, is the first equation in standard form? Yes. Is the second? No. So this is where I need to do something different. How do I get the second equation in standard form? Yeah, I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. And notice how I need to show my work. So negative 6x plus y equals negative 32. Yeah. So be careful with those signs. That's where students are having trouble. They forget that's a negative 32. They forget to put negative 6x in front. So that's the first step. Now what we're going to do is line them up. So 6x plus 7y equals 16. It's in standard form. Okay, that's a good question. So the first one, it's negative because it's in standard form, but notice that that's the problem that we're referring to is your final form is in standard form. Okay, our final form is not in standard form. I'm just putting this into standard form to be able to use it. If you want to multiply this equation right here by -1 to not have the negative a, that's fine, not have the -6, but truthfully, it's okay to have it at this point because we're going to use it to find an ordered pair. Does that make sense? You don't have to do it right now because this is not my final answer. Do you see that? If this right here that I started, if that was your final answer, then yes, you'd multiply it by a -1. But I'm using it right now to solve for an ordered pair. Good question. Okay, I'm going to add this. So 6x plus a -6x is elimination. Okay, 7y plus y gives me 8y. 16 plus a -32 is a -16. Divide by 8. Y gives me -2. Am I done? Nope. Yep, I got to put another equation, and I'm going to choose the first one. Doesn't matter. 6x plus 7y equals 16. 6x plus 7 times -2 equals 16. 6x plus -14 equals 16. Add 14. 6x gives me 30. Divide by 6. X equals 5. So then my ordered pair is 5, -2. Questions? You have most of these skills. The only difference is the adding and subtracting. Now we're going to be using elimination later on when we work with polynomials. So this is a really useful skill that we're going to learn. Right? And I have one more. Do you want us to do that one, or should we just move on? Let's move on. I think we're good. All right, here we go. I'm going to have you do page 447. And I want you to do 3 through 21 odd. Last hour, most students got done with it. It was like super easy. Okay, so you can get started, and then I'll be coming around in just a few minutes.
Please sharpen.